Okay, Rocky Balboa. Released in 2006, written and directed by Sylvester Stallone. It made about 70,147,850 at the box office. 76% on Rotten Tomatoes. And
Definitely higher scores.
yeah, 89% from the audience. So, this one was, in my opinion, right up there with the first movie. It's the best movie since the first one.
And you know what? This film is all nostalgia. That's why.
It's not all
in a way.
nostalgia. It's not. It's no more nostalgia than the rest of them. But what was great about this one is this is several years, obviously many years after the last movie, at least 16 years, and Adrian has passed away. Rocky, years after the last movie, Rocky finds himself pretty much alone again. Adrian has passed away, and his son is adult and off on his own.
He doesn't have a very good relationship with
doesn't have a very good relationship with his son. His son is afraid that he's living under his father's shadow because Rocky's become like a folk hero. So he walks around and says, "Hey, Rocco, what are you doing?" He's like, hey. And he's gotten very, I don't want to say nonchalant. That's not the word, but he's tired of it, I think.
Yeah.
He doesn't think that he deserves it.
He's definitely associated with him, and so
Yeah,
it kind of seems like when Rocky's being celebrated, he actually does seem happy about it. Like when he's in the bar with his friends and Rocky's on the TV, like he kind of seems happy about it. But
he's very humble about it because he's like, he wants to have a relationship with his son. And at the very beginning, he goes to see his son at work, and his son's being reprimanded by his boss. And then his boss sees Rocky. He's like, "Hey, get a picture of me and your dad," this whole thing. And his son kind of takes that to heart. And you can tell Rocky's very uncomfortable.
yeah.
He's like, "Yeah, okay, yeah, we'll do it." He's nice. He's never gonna say to someone, "No."
Yeah,
I'm not
Rocky's
doing it.
never been mean.
He's not mean.
about anything.
But he doesn't like the fact that it's driving a wedge between him and his son. He doesn't know how to bridge that gap. And he's very sad. This movie made me sad.
Oh, it's very sad.
It made me very sad because
But that's why I say it's nostalgic, though.
Well, no,
Because
it's not nostalgic. It is, but it's not. It's not like, hey, look.
just him going back to the places.
Oh gosh!
Like,
oh my God! So yeah, the beginning of the movie, it's the anniversary of his first date with
Yes.
Adrian, and
We see all those locations.
he goes back. He takes Polly to all those locations, and Rocky is just completely nostalgic. You could say it,
Yes.
but you can see that it means something to him. It's meaningful. He's got memories in these places, and he loves those memories. And he's remembering Adrian. I mean, Adrian was the love of his life, the only love of his life. And he's remembering her. He's going back to where they had their first kiss in their apartment, and this whole thing, the steps
But
that
we're along the ride with him,
and
too.
we've been with him on this ride. And
that's why it felt so nostalgic.
yeah, it felt nostalgic, but you had that emotional connection to it. I did. Because I don't know you, I watched all these movies in the span of about 2 days.
Yeah.
So for me, just the day before, I was seeing those scenes, and
Yeah.
I was following him, and I followed him through all these trials and tribulations, and now we see that what's it amounted to? Nothing. And at the point beginning of this movie, he has nothing.
Yeah.
His wife is dead. His son is almost estranged from him. Paulie is constantly like, "Oh, it's cold out here. Let's go home. I don't want to be here. I don't want to be here." And Rocky's just kind of like, "Hey, Paulie, come on."
But we find out why.
But then we find out why. And that's that's one of the biggest character developments for Paulie.
Yes.
Is that he
I love that scene.
me too. Because like Rocky's like, "Why are you being like this?" And he's like, "I'm just, this is memories. This is good memories." He's like, "For you, they're good. For me, they're bad."
Yeah,
He's
you
like,
find
"You
out-
treated her good. I treated her bad, and I don't need." And that's the closest thing he's ever come to admitting he's wrong.
Son, there's no place to sit down around here.
Oh, it's all right.
It ain't all right. It's depressing and freaking cold.
What's the matter with you, Paulie?
You're living backwards, Rocco. Change the channel from yesterday. Yesterday wasn't so great.
It was to me.
Not to me. You treated her good. You had the good times. I treated her bad. I don't have to think about this.
She always loved you, Paulie.
Sorry, Rocco. I can't do this no more.
And he breaks, though.
He does.
And
His
that
voice
scene,
cracks
like,
and breaks, and it's just such a. It gets you. Paulie
it really,
made you feel
yeah.
bad.
And that's never happened
You
before.
never
right?
feel bad for Paulie. Man, it's getting me right now just thinking about it. It really does. I mean, I got the
This
emotions.
whole film is...
It's very emotional.
It really takes you to that place because he's walking around looking at all these things and we're remembering with him.
Yeah, it's
And
not
so
sappy
you kind
either.
of feel, yeah,
It's not sappy.
You feel in his shoes at that moment too.
You do. Oh man, it's awesome. So what was interesting about this one is the opening didn't start off with the fight from the previous movie.
Yeah.
It didn't. It wasn't about that. It actually started off showing you the opponent.
Yeah.
So, but the one complaint I would have about this movie was that I don't think that the opponent was fleshed out enough. I think they tried to and they wanted to, but they stopped. They stopped a little bit short. They needed to give us more of him.
Yeah.
Because this was his test as well as Rocky's, but we'll go on that later. But they started off showing his career and talking about him. And then it goes into, we hear our song again. We hear Take You Back again at the very beginning. I write it down. It's in every movie.
It's amazing. I want to watch them again already.
Right, yeah. You got to look for this stuff now. So You Take It Back is at the beginning. So Rocky, like I said, he's empty. He's got nothing. It's him. It's his two turtles who I don't think they're Cuff and Link.
I don't think they're Cuff and Link either. That's
they
one
might
thing
be
I
the
saw.
descendants of Cuff and Link. He's got these two turtles, and he's feeding birds and all that kind of stuff. And he's got his own restaurant, which of course he calls Adrian's, because what else is he going to call it? He calls it Adrian's, and his whole life revolves around telling stories about his great days. And he doesn't look thrilled about that. It's like he doesn't like it.
Yeah.
I don't think he likes it, because he's telling the stories like, yeah, also, then Apollo comes out. He's telling the stories a billion times. They
But
mean
at the
nothing
same
to him.
time, it kind of feels like that's all he has.
That's all he has, and that's the problem. That's not what he wants. He wants to have something now. He wants to have.
But you don't think
someone
he
to take care of.
relives it a little bit when he's telling people about it?
I didn't get that. Not in a good way. It's reminding him of what he's lost, because he's got what I call his trail of loss.
Well, that's the thing, is like when things weren't happening, like his son, the whole thing with his son was kind of obviously throwing him off when he was talking to people and stuff.
Well, yeah. But at the restaurant, he's telling stories.
At the beginning, it kind of feels like he's getting into it.
I didn't get that. I got that it was actually kind of painful for him.
Like
because
maybe,
he was talking about people who were dead that he has outlived.
Yeah.
He's talking about glory days that are gone. That's just the way I took it. I mean, I could be wrong. That's just the way I took it. That telling those stories were very, very sad for him.
Yeah.
One thing is interesting. You got to see Spider Rico again.
Yeah.
Spider Rico is the guy he fought at the beginning of Rocky 1, and now Spider was, I guess, eating for free.
Basically down on his luck.
Down on his luck, so Rocky was taking care of him.
The
That's what Rocky
good guy
does.
that Rocky is.
Rocky's a great guy. He took care of him, to the chagrin of his employees.
But I like that Spider also didn't take advantage of
He
that.
didn't. He went. They started washing dishes. and stuff like that.
he was helping out.
So that was pretty cool. Spider was his friend now. That was kind of a cool little callback. If you didn't know who he was,
Yeah.
it didn't matter. But if you did know, it's pretty cool. That's Spider Rico.
Well, that's what I was talking about before we started watching these again. Is when I saw Rocky Balboa, it had been years and years since I had seen the first movie.
For a lot of people, it was.
And
this
so-
was 2006. 30 years.
Yeah, exactly.
After.
And I didn't
30
remember
years
half of
at
that
this
stuff.
point.
So watching these all together now, I have a whole new perspective and love for that.
Yeah. So
Especially.
the continuity is just incredible. So, what is it with Paulie and his hatred for watches? That was brought up again.
Is it just because Rocky
I
only gave him a
gave
watch?
him a watch. He's like, why didn't you get a watch? I know you got a watch. I don't need a watch. And I was like, what is it with Paulie's hatred for watches?
I think that stems from, other than the robot, maybe that's the only thing that Rocky ever got for him. But
He got you a robot, man.
exactly.
So-
That had to have been thousands of dollars.
The how hard you get hit scene is by far my favorite scene in the
Yeah.
entire saga, and I'll tell you why. Several reasons. One, because that one line, he basically what his son comes up, he accepts the challenge to fight the champion. Okay, and it's an exhibition. He accepts the challenge because Rocky has what he calls the beast inside him. He has to get this pain out. And he's the only way to do it, since he can't do it, he doesn't have the love that he needs. He's going to do it the other way. He's going to do it through boxing. So anyway, his son comes to him and yells at him. He's like, "Look, have you thought about how this is going to affect me? Because you're going to look bad. It's going to make me look bad, and everybody's going to do this whole thing." And Rocky gives him the speech that I actually gave to Carlene. I actually told this to Carlene. I actually sent this clip to Carlene, our sister Carlene, because she's having I don't know if I should say this on the video. I sent it to her to basically tell her my philosophy on life.
Yeah.
Because that became my philosophy. Be honest from this movie, and from the whole series now. Because the whole point of the movies, of all the series, is how much can you take?
Yeah.
because Rocky is constantly getting hit, not just literally in the ring, but metaphorically in life. He's getting hit and he's moving forward.
Yep. And
he tells his son, he's like, that's my favorite line in the whole movie. He's like, it doesn't matter how hard you hit, it's how hard you get hit. Keep moving forward.
Let me tell you something you already know. The world ain't all sunshine and rainbows. It's a very mean and nasty place, and I don't care how tough you are, it will beat you to your knees and keep you there permanently if you let it. You, me, or nobody is gonna hit as hard as life. But it ain't about how hard you hit. It's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward. How much you can take and keep moving forward. That's how winning is done. Now, if you know what you're worth, now go out and get what you're worth. But you gotta be willing to take the hits and not pointing fingers saying you ain't where you wanna be because of him or her or anybody. Cowards do that, and that ain't you. You're better than that.
And he goes, that's how winning is done. And I love that part. He's like, that's how winning is done. And I'm like, but he doesn't do it in the whole dickish gym coach kind of way.
Yeah.
It's very sincere the way he delivers it. He's like, that's how winning is done, and you're a
the
winner.
life lessons Rocky delivers in this film are fantastic.
He's wise. He's gotten wise.
And that's what he's become. He's become the wise old man.
And that's great, because that's what plays out later. But that was my favorite scene, and that's kind of become my personal philosophy in life. Is you got to take the hits. Life is the world's an ugly, mean, dirty place, and it'll knock you down and it'll keep you there permanently if you let it. I love that line. It's just, I don't know why. That's just me personally.
That was great.
That was great, and that summed up the whole series for me. The whole Rocky series up to here was summed up in that one scene in my mind. So, and I love the training montage. It's probably my favorite. The speech that Duke gives beforehand.
Yeah,
I love it. He's like, you know everything there is to know about boxing. There's no need of doing that again. He's like, you can't do this. You can't run heavy. You can't spar. You can't do this because you got this, that, and the other thing.
Calcium in your knuckles.
Yeah. So he's like, so what we're
He can't do anything.
He can't do anything. He can't box. He can't do any boxing training. So what's he gonna do? We're gonna build some good old-fashioned blunt force trauma.
Yep.
Let's start building some hurting bombs.
You know all there is to know about fighting, so there's no sense us going down that same old road again. To beat this guy, you need speed. You don't have it. And your knees can't take the pounding, so hard running is out. And you got arthritis in your neck, and you've got calcium deposits on most of your joints, so sparring is out.
I had that problem.
So what we'll be calling on is good old-fashioned blunt force trauma, horsepower, heavy-duty cast iron, pile-driving punches that will have to hurt so much they'll rattle his ancestors. Every time you hit him with his shot, it's got to feel like he tried kissing the express train. Yeah, let's start building some hurting bombs.
And then the dun 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 dun, and it's like that.
Just get pumped all over.
I was pumped. I wanted to go train. I wanted to go out and start doing push-ups and stuff because it was that motivating. I loved that scene. Yeah. And then the fight at the ending was probably the most emotional of the entire saga because both fighters had something to prove in this movie.
Yeah.
Because the whole point was that the champion had never been challenged. Not really. He had never gone. He never had to dig, as they call it. He never had to dig deep and go the distance. He never had to. He was always quick knockout. No one had challenged him. Now he's fighting Rocky Balboa. I mean, come on.
You got to think that is it the same challenge that Rocky had when he was champ?
I don't know.
Because remember they were saying that he hadn't fought.
He hadn't fought in a long time. He hadn't fought in 20 years.
No, he hadn't fought people in his class. Like they were throwing challenges at him. Remember?
Well, yeah, but he had fought the Russians since then.
True. Well, that was after that.
Right.
That's what I'm saying.
But Rocky had fought, but now he's 30 years older. He's in his 60s. He hasn't boxed in a long time. He's old. And this guy's young. This guy didn't take him seriously either. He wasn't in great shape.
Not at all.
This whole thing, he was all about speed and everything like that. I did notice a difference in the physiques of the actors versus boxers in this movie, like real boxers.
Yeah.
Because that guy was another real boxer.
Yeah.
So he wasn't an actor. He's another real boxer. And after Rocky V, all the opponents have been real boxers. but their physiques are different. You can kind of look. We'll see it again in the next movie.
Yeah.
That the actors' physiques are much more cut, and much more toned than the actual boxers.
Well, they have to be now, but you know, back in the 70s, 80s, and stuff, like
Well, they were
boxers
both-
weren't as cut. Like
No, yeah.
they were kind of sloppier, but they hit hard.
But in the Rocky movies, though, they were all actors, so they had the
Yeah.
actors' bodies.
Yeah.
But it's not a knock against it. It's just an observation.
No, but it did get, like, especially with Creed, like, you know, people look a certain way when you're a boxer now.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
now you have to look, you know, almost chiseled, like
Kind
in a way.
we'll
like-
talk about that when we get to
Yeah.
it. Stick with this one. But I thought it was very emotional because Rocky and the champ both had to dig deep. And Rocky had to see how deep he could still dig. Could he still go? Because it represented life. All the fights in these movies represent life and what Rocky's facing. In this case here, Rocky was facing his own self-worth again, but it was in a different way. It was like he was basically fighting life, fighting against his
I was
own
gonna
pain.
say he was almost like facing mortality in a way.
In a way, yeah, he was. He was facing his own. Do I have what it takes to go on? He was
After all the death and lead up in the beginning of the film,
He had-
so much death.
He
It
had
was
lost
almost like,
everything.
am I still alive?
Do I still have what it takes to fight?
Yeah.
And he found out he did. And he not only was he still able to fight, but he was able to give another person that will to fight.
Mm-hmm.
And that was at the end because the end of that fight ended up a lot like the end of his second fight with Apollo, where they're in the middle of the ring. But in this one here, it was just flurry after flurry. It was like, okay, one of us is going to go down. I don't care who it is. And neither one of them did. Neither one of them wanted to go down. They both had that drive.
Yeah.
But with Rocky, it meant for the champion, it meant that he was a true champion. He was ready to go. He was actually the champion. For Rocky, it proved that he could still fight life. He could still fight. And what's the first thing you said? Do you remember what the first thing you said after the fight was over?
No.
He hugged the champion. He said, "You're a great champion."
Yeah.
He said, "Thank you for the opportunity." I mean, he was. And he
was still humble.
He was
He's
very
always
humble.
humble.
My favorite part was when the guy comes out and he goes, "It's like you're a crazy old man." And Rocky's like, "You'll get there."
Touch him up.
You one crazy old man.
You'll get there.
Let's go.
That's all he
And
said.
that's what it felt like. He was actually passing.
He was teaching
that to him.
Yeah, it was
Like,
it was pretty interesting. He's like, he was teaching,
Yeah,
but he's like, "You'll get there."
exactly. And it definitely seemed like he was passing the torch in a way. Like
Kind of sort of.
passing his mentality onto him.
Well, he was kind of giving him his blessing as champion.
Well, and I was hoping, like, maybe, obviously we don't know how the character, felt, but hopefully, like, maybe it humbled him a little bit.
Yeah, maybe it
seeing
did.
him, Rocky.
Yeah, maybe it did. And that was the ending of that movie was just so incredible when he was walking out.
Yeah.
And like the audience was cheering. He didn't care about the. They actually did two endings. One where he actually stayed in the ring and heard the announcement and then walked out. But that one.
Yeah, I like this one better.
This one was way better because he's walking. He doesn't even care. Not even listening.
Yeah.
And that's the point.
Yep.
The point wasn't who won. He doesn't
He's like,
want
"I
to
did
win.
that."
He doesn't care. He wasn't knocked out.
Yep.
He is still in the fight. He's still fighting
Yep.
the big fight. That's
I think
what
that's the
mattered.
point, yeah.
That was the point. And he said goodbye. He's boom boom. And that was. It was supposed to be goodbye to the character. That's how I think they planned it.
Yeah.
Turned out to be goodbye to the series, that particular series,
Yeah.
which was great.
Which
that
is
was
perfect,
a good
yeah.
ending to it. Loved it. Perfect ending to the Rocky series.
Yeah.
Now it's time to pass on the torch, which he does in the next movie we'll talk about.
Yeah.
But first of all, this one rating, what'd you give it?
I
I give
did-
it a 5. I think it's just it's right up there with the first one.
None of mine go above 4, but this
Yeah.
definitely 4. It's definitely in the top 3. I don't know, like it,
I think if Rocky 1 and Rocky Balboa are perfect bookends for this series.
oh for sure.
That's
no,
so
that's
I think it was a
definitely-
great movie. I absolutely loved it. I loved the first one this time. I loved Rocky Balboa this time. I think I loved Rocky Balboa because of everything that came before it. And I loved Rocky 1 because it set up everything so well that came after it. It's just as a series, the whole movie,
Just
the
to
whole
see
thing,
it come
is-
together.
Yeah,
Like,
it's just unbelievable.
stuff
Watch that all
that they
together.
couldn't have known, that they
I-
progress.
How,
and it's,
how could they
yeah.
have known? It was just incredible, and I absolutely loved it. So I give it a 5. You give it a 4. Awesome. So, all right.
That's Rocky
So that's Rocky Balboa. One more to go, and stay with us, and we'll talk about Creed.